All right, we're back with Tennis Talk Daily. We are covering day 6 of the Australian Open, and let me tell you, it is fantastic, this lineup of matches that we have. One of the most anticipated ones is Alexander Zverev versus Chung, who is this devastating young player who has a very bright future on the tour. And he has a winning record against the young German Alexander Zverev. It's 1-0. They've only met once. So if you're Zverev, you're thinking, okay, his stats look fairly weak. He's been struggling a bit in the tournament, and quite frankly, he's still never made it to a quarterfinal in a Grand Slam. Now, I made a soft prediction earlier that he could make it through, and I do believe he's capable of making it through if he's in form. But you know what? He has looked pretty shaky. He doesn't seem to feel very well in Melbourne and be playing and getting into his sort of rhythm very well in Melbourne. So that presents a problem. Chung is capable of beating him and may very well do so. Matt over at Coffee Break Tennis did put out basically an upset alert, and I think that is very appropriate here. Now, Djokovic is going to be facing Albert Ramos Vinolas. These matches, they're going to be going forward. Zverev is going to start. I think it's already started. So these are in real time, these matches. They're going to be some very, very interesting third round matches. So if Zverev does get through, he's going to face the winner of the Djokovic match. Matt at Coffee Break Tennis, which is just this fantastic talk channel. I love his tennis talk. He's inspired me so much, but he's feeling very, very problematic about Djokovic, and I think that there is some cause for concern with Novak Djokovic. It does seem he has a 4-0 record against Ramos Vinolas, and it does seem that he will probably squeak through. Whether he meets Chung or Zverev, we'll have to see, but I do predict that Novak Djokovic will squeak through. The question is, whether he will be able to squeak through against in the fourth round. Again, he's got a winning record against all of these players, and he's capable of beating all of these players, but he may need a little more time to warm up Novak Djokovic, but he's looking, he certainly has a bright future, and I've predicted, and I will predict again right here and right now, that man will win more Grand Slams, more than one. The other match, of course, is the Federer-Gasquet match, and that is one that, of course, we are all anticipating. Federer has a very, very big advantage in terms of just the history of this matchup. Gasquet has not only beaten Federer twice in their 16 meetings, or maybe it's 18 meetings, in fact, and both times that Gasquet prevailed over Federer were on clay. So it does not look good for Gasquet, but we will be looking to see what Roger is doing and how he is playing, and we will always be interested in seeing Roger Federer play tennis competitively in match situations, because that's where it's a thing of beauty with him, and he will probably in all likelihood prevail against Richard Gasquet. So, but you know what? I have the deepest respect for all of these guys for one essential reason, for many reasons, but for this one that I want to illuminate right here. All of them, in tennis, anything can happen, and all of them go out onto those match courts, televised matches, and they risk humiliation. Even the top players. Now, Federer doesn't really fear. He's such a veteran in a way. But even Federer, he knows tennis, and he knows that element of tennis, that unpredictable element. So he is always on guard. Heard someone in some comment say the other day that Federer fears no one. Well, I understand what you mean in terms of talking up Federer. I want to be very hopeful and positive about him, but the fact is that what makes him great is that he fears everyone, or at least he takes everyone seriously, and that's really important. Otherwise, you end up getting upset. Like Djokovic last year in the Australian Open. Istomin is actually out of the 2018 Australian Open, beaten by the a British number 2, Kyle Edmund. But now Djokovic is still in. But in any case, you have to guard yourself. You have to basically maintain that fear of the players, because you know what? They all are very capable players. All 128 of these players that started the tournament. Now we're getting down basically to 16. It's going to be tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning we're going to wake up with a Christmas present, and it's going to be 16 players. And that is going to be very, very interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be, it's turning out to be a very, very interesting tournament. Now, listen, does Federer want to do we want to see Federer drop a set to Gasquet? I mean, I would say no. I mean, I like the way Federer's going. You can complain about things about his backhand and whatnot, but he's looking good, and he's got straight set victories behind him, and he's got the kick. He usually will prevail over Gasquet in straight sets, so I'm looking for a straight set victory from Roger Federer against Richard Gasquet. That's going to keep him on track to the championship. Now, because it would be out of character to drop a set. It sort of would. But you know what? Here's my final point. These courts are playing so fast. I mean, these conditions really, really give Federer an advantage, and he's going to be taking advantage of that advantage, exploiting that advantage. So I'm, of course, confident about. You can't really not be confident about Federer's chances against Gasquet. The only question will be coming into the fourth round in terms of who he meets there. It's either going to be Fucsovics or Nick Kicker. I'll have more on those two players a little later. But then, assuming he prevails over one of those two unseeded players, he's going to have a pretty easy fourth round, it looks like. Assuming that, he's probably going to go on and see Delpo, but we'll have to see what happens. Thomas Berdych and Delpo are also playing and going to be in these matches that basically complete and culminate the third round. But it's going to be pretty interesting, and I sort of hope for a Berdych win, because Berdych gives Federer less trouble. But you know what? Federer needs the competition. Last year he had that 5-set epic with Nishikori. Well, that's a good thing for him. He needs to get into animal mode, into God mode, yes, but also into animal mode, and he needs a 5-setter or two, because you know what? When he gets to the final and Rafael Nadal's waiting for him on the court, that's probably going to go to 5, and he needs a little precedent for that in his body. So there's going to be some tough matches coming up. There's no question about that. No question about that. So in any case, we all have our favorites, but we've got a great set of tennis players that I have the deepest respect for, and I really am just so much looking forward to how this proceeds. And thank you also to the tennis players for coming out there and risking humiliation and embarrassment, because you know what? That is what it is. If Djokovic, loses to Ramos, Vinolas, it's going to be humiliating for him, and he's taking that risk, and he's doing it. He's playing the sport. And I respect that. They all take that risk. Federer's taking a risk of going out there and losing to Gasquet tomorrow. He is. It's a small risk, a very small risk, but he's going out there and risking public humiliation, basically. And they do it. They compete, and they keep their heads up. Hopefully afterwards, and they go on and they do their best in the next tournament. But listen, Gasquet is not going to present the problems for Federer. He has bigger fish to fry. It's going to be in the form of Delpo. It's going to be in the form of a Nadal. It possibly could be in the form of a Djokovic. So let's see what happens. Subscribe to the channel, and we are, again, into day 6, and it's happening. So I have to go hang out with my son and just do other stuff. But again, tomorrow morning, our Christmas present is the 16 survivors in this magnificent tennis tournament, the 2018 Australian Open. Keep tuning in, subscribe, hit the like button. Talk soon.